Hello everyone, welcome back to the Human Observation Lab. I'm New York, your host and observer. Today we have Juan joining us again. Hello, Juan.
Hi New York. Hi everyone. I'm excited to be here. What are we observing today?
Today we're looking at two recent news stories about health innovation. First, there's a market forecast for ergonomic medical stools expected to grow significantly between 2026 and 2032. Second, a clinical research paper on cellular agriculture products has been published in a medical journal.
Wait, those sound really different. Ergonomic stools and cellular agriculture? Is that like lab-grown food?
Exactly. At first glance, they seem unrelated. But from a psychological perspective, both reveal something fascinating about how humans accept or resist new health technologies. Let's explore this together. Let's start with the ergonomic medical stools. According to the market report, this industry is projected to grow steadily through 2032. These are specialized chairs designed for healthcare professionals who spend long hours working.
That makes sense. I've heard that doctors and nurses have really physically demanding jobs. Having better chairs must help them a lot.
Indeed. The market analysis breaks this down by product type, mechanism, material, end users, and distribution channels. What's interesting is how this reflects a broader trend. The healthcare industry is increasingly prioritizing worker well-being through equipment design.
It seems kind of obvious though. I mean, who wouldn't want better equipment? Is there really resistance to this?
That's an excellent question. Interestingly, ergonomic innovations often face what we call status quo bias. This is a psychological tendency where people prefer things to stay the same, even when change would benefit them.
I think I get that. Like when your office gets new chairs and everyone complains at first, even if the old ones were terrible.
Precisely. In healthcare settings, this bias can be even stronger. Medical professionals often work in high-stress environments where any change feels risky. Even something as simple as a new stool can trigger anxiety about disrupting established workflows.
So even positive changes can feel threatening? That's kind of sad, actually.
From an observational standpoint, it's neither sad nor happy. It's simply how our brains are wired. The human mind conserves energy by preferring familiar patterns. This was evolutionarily advantageous but can slow progress in modern contexts.
Okay, so the market is growing despite this resistance. What's driving the change?
Several factors. First, there's increasing awareness of occupational health issues. Second, younger healthcare workers enter the field with different expectations. Third, institutions are recognizing that investing in worker comfort reduces long-term costs from injuries and burnout.
That's really interesting. It's like the resistance fades when the benefits become undeniable.
Yes. This relates to what psychologists call the evidence threshold. Different people require different amounts of evidence before accepting change. Early adopters need little evidence, while skeptics need overwhelming proof.
I'm probably somewhere in the middle. I need to see it working before I fully trust it.
Now let's examine the second news story. A clinical research paper on cellular agriculture products containing something called Cellular has been published in a medical journal. This represents a significant step for lab-grown food technology.
Cellular agriculture. So they're growing meat in labs? That sounds both amazing and a little strange.
Your reaction is very typical. Cellular agriculture involves growing animal products directly from cells, without raising and slaughtering animals. The fact that a clinical research paper has been published means scientists are studying its safety and health effects systematically.
But why would we need this? Can't we just keep eating regular meat?
That question reflects what researchers call the necessity perception. People are more likely to accept new technologies when they perceive a clear need. Cellular agriculture addresses environmental concerns, animal welfare, and food security issues.
I can see the environmental benefits. But honestly, the idea of eating something grown in a lab feels, I don't know, unnatural?
That feeling has a name: the naturalistic bias or naturalistic fallacy. It's the belief that natural things are inherently better or safer than artificial ones. This is deeply rooted in human psychology.
But isn't that kind of true? Natural food has been around forever, and lab-grown stuff is new.
That's a common intuition. However, from an analytical perspective, natural doesn't automatically mean safer. Many natural substances are toxic, while many artificial ones are safe. What matters is the actual chemical composition and how our bodies process it.
Okay, that makes sense when you put it that way, but it still feels different emotionally.
Emotional responses are valid data points for observation. The disgust sensitivity many people feel toward lab-grown food is a protective mechanism. Disgust evolved to help us avoid potentially harmful substances. New, unfamiliar foods naturally trigger this response.
So my hesitation is actually my brain trying to protect me? That's kind of reassuring.
Exactly. The key insight is that this protective mechanism can sometimes be overly cautious. The purpose of clinical research, like the paper mentioned in the news, is to provide evidence that helps our rational minds override these instinctive concerns when appropriate.
So publishing in a medical journal is like saying, we've tested this properly, it's okay?
Partially. It's also about building what we call institutional trust. When respected scientific bodies validate something, people who trust those institutions become more accepting. However, this varies significantly based on how much someone trusts science and medical authorities in general.
I guess some people trust science more than others. That must affect how they see this technology.
Indeed. This relates to the concept of epistemic trust, which is trust in knowledge sources. People with high epistemic trust in science will accept clinical research more readily. Those with lower trust will remain skeptical regardless of the evidence. Now let's connect these two stories. Both ergonomic medical stools and cellular agriculture represent innovations in health-related fields. Yet people's reactions differ significantly. Why?
Yeah, I noticed that too. The stools seem way less controversial than lab-grown food. But they're both about health improvement, right?
Correct. The difference lies in what psychologists call the proximity of effect. Ergonomic stools improve conditions for healthcare workers who use them. Cellular agriculture affects everyone who eats. The more directly something affects us personally, the stronger our emotional response.
So because I might eat lab-grown food, I care more about it than a stool I'll never sit on?
Precisely. Additionally, there's the inversion of control. With ergonomic stools, healthcare workers choose whether to use them. With cellular agriculture, consumers may eventually face products in stores without full knowledge of their origins. This perceived loss of control amplifies resistance.
That's a good point. I want to know what I'm eating. If it's not clearly labeled, that feels wrong.
This touches on autonomy preference, a fundamental human need. People want to feel they have choices. Transparency and clear labeling can help address this concern. Interestingly, the clinical research publication itself is a form of transparency.
How does publishing research help with transparency?
It allows independent experts to review the findings. Instead of asking consumers to blindly trust a company, the scientific community can verify claims. This process, called peer review, distributes trust across many experts rather than concentrating it in one source.
Okay, so it's like having multiple people check the work instead of just one person's word?
Exactly. Another important concept here is the effect heuristic. This is a mental shortcut where our overall feeling about something influences our judgment of its specific risks and benefits. If lab-grown food feels weird, we assume it must be risky.
I think I do that. If something seems off, I automatically think it's dangerous.
This heuristic usually serves us well in daily life. However, with complex technologies, our intuitions can mislead us. The effect heuristic doesn't account for the rigorous testing that products like cellular agriculture undergo.
So we need to train ourselves to look past our first impressions?
To some extent, yes. But it's also important for innovators to understand these psychological barriers. Technologies that ignore human psychology often face unnecessary resistance, even when they offer genuine benefits. Let's consider the broader implications. Both news stories point toward a future where health innovation becomes increasingly common. The ergonomic stool market growth suggests healthcare is evolving. The cellular agriculture research suggests our food systems may transform.
Feels like we're at a turning point. These changes are happening whether we're ready or not.
Indeed. Understanding the psychology behind acceptance helps us navigate these changes more smoothly. Rather than dismissing skeptics as anti-progress, we can recognize their concerns as natural human responses that need addressing.
That's a really kind way to look at it. Skepticism isn't always a bad thing.
Skepticism, when balanced with openness to evidence, is healthy. The key is developing what researchers call cognitive flexibility, the ability to update our beliefs when presented with new information.
So being able to change your mind is actually a strength?
Precisely. Those who can adapt their thinking as evidence accumulates tend to make better decisions in rapidly changing environments. This applies to accepting ergonomic innovations in healthcare and to evaluating new food technologies.
This has been really eye-opening. I never thought about how much psychology is involved in something like accepting new technology.
Psychology underlies almost every human reaction to change. By understanding these patterns, we become more conscious participants in our own evolution as a society.
Thank you, New York. I'll definitely think about my reactions more carefully next time I hear about some new health innovation.
And that's all for today's Human Observation Lab. We'll continue watching how society adapts to innovation. Until next time, keep observing, keep questioning, and remember, understanding ourselves is the first step to understanding our world.
See you next time, everyone. Bye.